Hey friends, it's Betsy from the blog of flourishingplace.com, and in today's video we are talking all about tips for how to declutter fast and how to get rid of decision fatigue when you're decluttering. Like I mentioned, my name is Betsy. I have a wonderful husband and two small kids, and we live in a house that is about 1,000 square feet. And yes, I am constantly battling clutter. That is just a reality of life. But there are two big roadblocks that often get in our way when we think about decluttering. One is that decluttering takes a long time. If clutter has built up a little bit in your home, the thought of having to deal with it and attack it and take care of it just feels overwhelming. And so a big question is, how can I declutter fast? Another big barrier when it comes to decluttering is decision fatigue. And I know I'm not the only one that experiences this. When you're decluttering, just that overwhelming feeling of, I don't even know, should I keep this? Should I throw it? I feel like I've been going through, 100 things and I just don't want to make another decision. And oftentimes those decisions feel like they carry extra weight because there's sentimental attachment or there's just some emotions that come along with the stuff that we're decluttering. So today I want to talk about 10 tips for how to declutter fast and how to eliminate decision fatigue when you're decluttering. So kind of those two things wrapped into one. Number one is to set kind of an overarching goal for your decluttering. There is something that motivated you to want to get started on decluttering in the first place. There is something that you said, that's it. Enough is enough. I've got to tackle this office, or I've got to deal with these kitchen counters. Even if you need to write it down on a sticky note, just what is your mission? What is your purpose in doing this decluttering? It might be something as simple as, I want this office to be a place that I like to get my bills done. I want this master bedroom to be a retreat. I want my kitchen to be clean and the counters to be free of clutter so that when I come in and want to bake or cook, I'm not having to move a bunch of stuff. So tip number one, set an overarching goal or mission and let that guide you as you're doing your decluttering. It's going to help with making decisions. It's going to help with getting it done quickly. Number two, and this really plays into decision fatigue. Even if you're not talking about clutter, but you're just talking about decision fatigue in general, the biggest way to eliminate decision fatigue is to eliminate as many decisions as possible. The more decisions we make, the more fatigued we get, right? And so this definitely plays into how you want to declutter. You want to eliminate as many decisions as possible. Tip number three, and I learned this from Do It on a Dime. Actually, she was going through her wardrobe. I'll link that video below. It's really a good one. She talks about the whole idea of starting with what you love. Pull out the things that you love, that you know you want to keep, that you know you can't live without. Oftentimes those are easy decisions. Tip number four is to box it up. So once you've made that decision, like we talked about in tip three, to pull out the stuff that you love and set that aside because you know you're going to keep it, box everything else up. That sounds crazy, I know, but we're talking about eliminating decision fatigue, and so much of what goes into decluttering that is difficult is just that back and forth decision. Should I keep it? Should I not? I don't know. So I would really just encourage you, box up the remaining stuff. Don't toss it. Don't ship it off to the donation center yet. Just box it up and put it out in your garage, put it somewhere in the basement, put it out of the way. And the big test is going to be, if it's out of sight for 3 months, are you going to miss it? Do you need it? You never want to be wasteful and get rid of things that you are going to end up needing. But we play this game with ourselves all the time where we say, well, just in case, right? I might need it. I may need this. And oftentimes we don't end up needing it. And the stress that piles up as a result of having all of these things that we may need at some point way outweighs the benefit of keeping them on hand just in case. So go ahead and box that stuff up. Put it in a box, tape it up, and then set a date for yourself. If in a month, 3 months, whatever you need, you have not reached into that box for that stuff, get rid of it. This is a tip that's pretty common out there. You'll hear it from the minimalist. Joshua Becker talks about it. The Minimal Mom talks about it. Go ahead and box it up and let that be the test to see whether or not you need it. You are going to find that you are loving the cleared space that you've created and you're not missing that stuff and you don't want it back. Tip number 5 isn't really a question. It's more of a statement. And that is, if it's not a clear yes, it's a no. Honestly, say it's a sweater that's hanging in your closet. Every time you go to clean out your closet, you see that sweater and it's like, well, but it's the color that I like. So, I think I'll wear it. But then you put it on again and you remember, oh, the shoulders fit kind of funny. I don't know, but I'll probably wear it. I mean, I think with the right pair of pants, this could really look great. And we do that to ourselves and we never wear the stinking sweater. So if it's not a clear yes, it's a no. It's these things where we kind of go, oh, I really love this. When I find the right thing to go with it, or when I get the right frame for it, or when I, on and on and on. If you have not done something with it by this point, the truth is that you're probably not going to. Number 6, use the container principle. And this is a tip from Dana White. Slob Comes Clean. She is awesome. And she talks about this whole concept of the container principle. And you use a container to determine how much you keep. So if there are things that you are having trouble deciding whether or not to keep or get rid of, use the container principle. You have, 3 baskets that fit across the top of that shelf in the closet. There's only a certain number of things that can fit inside, and you use those baskets as your boundaries, and anything else that goes above and beyond that, you get rid of. Tip number 7, if you're struggling to get rid of something, evaluate if it's fear. And by fear, I'm mostly talking about saying no to the fear of missing out. Sometimes if we get rid of something, there is some fear there that we're losing something valuable, that we're going to be missing out somehow if we get rid of this particular item. And honestly, that's something that needs to be evaluated. And if it's simply that you're dealing with a fear of missing out, go ahead and part with that item. That is not a big enough reason to keep something. Tip number 8 is to say no to guilt. This one is hard. Guilt is huge with decluttering. It definitely is for me. And that whole idea that, oh, so-and-so gave me this, I really don't feel like I can part with it, or they'll notice that it's not here. But the truth is that if your home is cluttered and it is causing you stress and you are feeling chaotic and out of control every day because you don't feel like your house is tidy and in order and decluttered, then that item is not contributing to your well-being. You love that person, whoever gave you that thing. It's not reflecting on them, like you are discarding the relationship, but it is so important that our spaces be a place where we can have mental clarity, we can have rest, and we don't need to be stressed. And so if getting rid of that item allows you to have a little less stress and to have a clear and organized space, then it is well worth it. So that's tip number 8, is to say no to guilt. I know it is easier said than done, but you will find as you start working that muscle, it does get stronger. And like I said, oftentimes the fear of somebody saying something or the fear of somebody noticing is a lot bigger than the reality of that actually happening. Oftentimes it doesn't happen, and a whole conversation that you were afraid of or whatever ends up never materializing. And so you need to do what is best for you. I need to do what is best for me and my family, and not be driven by guilt over what someone else might think or what someone else might say or how they might respond. Number 9, and this is just a practical one, and it goes back to how to declutter fast and how to eliminate decision fatigue when you're decluttering. And this one tip I have found super helpful for both, and that is to work in short spurts. Some people disagree. They think that working in a long stretch of time is better. They kind of get in the groove and they just want to keep the momentum going. Totally understand that, and I think that's very legitimate. For myself, I have found that working in short spurts, I have more energy, I have more mental clarity. I am able to say yes, no very quickly, and there's a sunset to it. I know I'm only working for 20 minutes or whatever, and so I know that I can just put my all in 100% for 20 minutes, be completely focused on decluttering, and then at the end of 20 minutes I'm breaking and moving on to something else. One question that comes up too, when you're decluttering, it often feels like you're pulling everything out into the middle of the room and you're working through stuff, and so it's like, how can I possibly, in 20 minutes declutter this closet? I pull everything out, into the middle of the living room, and then my kid wakes up from a nap and it's like, great, now I have this pile of junk all over the floor. How do you deal with that? Only pull out and declutter what you know you can do in a short amount of time. So if you want to declutter your whole dresser or you want to declutter your whole closet, just take a section. So just do the top shelf of your closet, just do the top of your dresser, just do your underwear and sock drawer. Keep it in small sections so that you can leave it quickly and not feel like you're leaving a big pile of junk in the middle of the room that you need to deal with later. Tip number 10 is asking this question. If the thought of just throwing something in the box and taping it up and putting it down in the basement is sounds stressful, I would encourage you to ask this question: what would letting go of this make possible? And when you first hear that question, it might seem like fluffy and I'm just looking for practical tips, but it goes back to the first tip, talking about what is your mission and what is your goal in decluttering the space that you're decluttering. What does letting go of this make possible? Clutter gets in our way of living our life to the fullest. And it may sound like I'm kind of being overly dramatic to say that, but it's true. When clutter hits a point that we're frustrated with it, we're frustrated because it is inhibiting our life in some way. And so when you are letting go of clutter, you are making other things possible. There's you can draw a straight line from A to B. When you're letting go of something, you're making something else possible. And so think about what is on the other side of getting rid of that clutter. And oftentimes what is on the other side is so much better than hanging on to the clutter. And so I would just encourage you to think through that question. If you're struggling to get rid of something, what would letting go of this make possible? For me, I think about when I get rid of stuff, there are relational benefits that are coming with my kids, with my husband, things that will make our house more of a home, things that will make our home a refuge, a place that we will love to be. So that's it. Those are my 10 tips for how to declutter fast and how to eliminate decision fatigue when you're decluttering. Decluttering is a journey. We all have our own reasons for why it's a challenge, and I honestly just have not met many people that it's not a challenge for. So know that you are not alone. And in fact, if you want to just write down in the comments below some of the challenges for you that you find when you're getting ready to declutter. Also, on the flip side, if you have something that has really helped you with decluttering, if you have any tips that have helped you to be able to declutter quicker or to be able to overcome some of these obstacles that we've been talking about, or something that has helped with getting rid of decision fatigue in decluttering, I would love to hear any of those comments and tips. I certainly do not consider myself a guru on this by any means, and I love to hear from other people what's challenging for them and what's working for them, because when I hear the challenges, it helps me to know that I'm not alone, and then when I hear what's working, it gives me some great ideas that I can incorporate into my decluttering. I hope this video is helpful for you. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I make videos on this channel all about decluttering and organizing and creating beauty in your home on a budget, and I will see you next time.